everybody, Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, and this week's contract tip has to do with giving a commission concession back to your client or one of the other parties in the transaction. Is it allowed? May you do it? And how do you write it up? Well, the answer is yes, it is allowed, and it is contained in the body of license law under handling transactions, which is GREC Real Estate Rule, GREC Rule 520-1-.106, and that's the section under disclosures of commissions, fees, rebates, or other valuable consideration. And so basically what license law says is a licensee may rebate any portion of any part of the commission, a fee, or any other compensation received in relation to that transaction, as long as the rebate is disclosed on the closing statement, and as long as that rebate or that fee does not mislead any of the other parties. It can't mislead the lender, the closing attorney, or the other principal regarding the source of the funds or that's needed to complete the transaction, regarding the financial resources or obligations, especially of a buyer principal. So what does all that mean? Well, it must be on the closing statement. That means you cannot rebate part of your commission back to a buyer or a seller after the deal closes. It is a license law violation at that point. However, you may do it as part of the deal. And again, if you are working with a buyer, or even if you are a listing broker giving money back to a buyer, it must get lender approval, because there are, depending on the type of loan that the buyer is getting and the down payment they're putting in, the amount of concessions to that buyer are potentially limited. So you need to make sure that it is okayed by the lender. And then additionally, it says you can't mislead any of the other parties regarding the source of funds needed to complete the transaction. The other part in OCGA 43-40-25 paragraph B6, where it's talking about payments to another broker, those may be made in advance on pre-established terms in a brokerage engagement. So in other words, if this is something that you're doing as a business practice, for example, if you buy with me and sell with me, I'll rebate a portion of my commission back to you on the second transaction or something like that. That really needs to be disclosed in the buyer brokerage agreement, and then again, it must be on the closing statement. But regarding if you as an agent are giving a concession of your commission to make the deal work as negotiations have gone along, or if you are agent principal and the commission that you would have received, having been the agent portion of the agent principal, you want to use back in the deal, that can be done as long as it is disclosed, and again, it must be done on the closing statement. But be careful how you word it, because when you join a brokerage, you are an affiliated licensee of your broker. All contracts are written in the name of the broker. All buyer brokerages are in the name of the broker. All listing agreements are in the name of the broker. So when you're talking about commission, who does the commission belong to? At that point, it belongs to the broker. So anytime you're talking about a commission concession, you must talk about listing broker's commission, selling broker's commission, so forth and so on. And just parenthetically, this is true too. If you are offering a bonus, it wouldn't be a selling agent bonus. It would be a selling broker bonus, because the commissions are paid broker to broker. So number one, you would put verbiage on there that selling broker's commission or X amount of selling broker's commission to be used as a buyer credit at closing, so forth and so on. If you check specifically with your broker or with a closing attorney, another broker if you're not with Maximum One, regarding the specific verbiage, we'll be more than happy to help you out with that. Again, it must be referred to as broker commission, number one, and then typically the lender and the closing attorney may require a permission letter from the broker, because it is broker's commission, that the broker is allowing you as the licensee, as the agent, to concede that commission or part of that commission in the deal towards the buyer or the seller. So the permission letter, typically check with the lender and the closing attorney. The other thing when you write it up is, if you are writing it up that it goes specifically towards a buyer's closing costs, you need to be careful and pay attention to the contract that you are writing this under, the contract that the parties are binding under. For example, if you guys are binding under the GAR contract form, in that purchase and sale agreement, the closing costs are very, very specific, and they are specifically spelled out what concession to closing costs looks like, what that specifically goes for. And any unspent sums, the buyer doesn't necessarily get to use that. If you are writing a contract and you're binding under the RE forms, the paragraph where it talks about concession to closing costs, that is much more open-ended. It says closing costs that can be used by the lender, and then it says, and any additional basically any additional expenses by the buyer, merely at the discretion of the buyer. So be careful if your intent is to give to contribute X amount of dollars from your commission to be used in the deal, don't limit it by talking about a specific term based on the contract that you're under. And the other thing that you will want to do is you will want to make sure that it gets written up on the instructions to closing attorney. And on the second page of this, I've done a whole separate video on the instructions to closing attorney and how you get paid your commission. So I'll put that link below. But on the second page where it says under the GAR form, and these are F32 instructions to closing attorney, further directions to closing attorney, and this is where you would write out and describe the fees and rebates that which broker is conceding to which party. So I hope this contract tip helped you out. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe for more contract tips. And this is Dana Sparks, broker of Maximum One Greater Atlanta Realtors, satisfying your needs with service, innovation, and education.